Well, welcome, Dom, to our London office and our lovely media suite. Thank you for speaking with me today about innovation. Innovation, I think, is a much bandied about term. Does anyone really know what it means? So can I start by asking, what does innovation mean to you?
So innovation to me is both the best word and a very dirty word at the same time. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. The reason behind that is it's overused and it's generic, but at the same time, it really nicely encompasses everything that we need to do as lawyers to try and break past the status quo, the things that we do all the time that we accept as the status quo, and most people don't try to change. So to me, innovation means not accepting what we do at the moment as the best way forward and constantly looking at all of the different processes and practices that we undertake as lawyers and then figuring out, how do we make this better? How do we iterate? How do we drive processes to become more efficient, be more effective, and to be better at delivering the end result, whatever that may be? Is it a client report? Is it a internal finance point? Is it the office feels like a nicer environment for staff or for clients? It doesn't matter what the end result is. It's all about how can I make it a smoother and better process. And it's about challenging those ideas and just not accepting that what we do now is the best way of doing things.
I'm really interested to understand, how do you build something from scratch? How did you build Avail from an idea to the platform it has become?
Good question. It's been a long journey. So when I left the law, basically what I wanted to do is start off with a very specific pain point and build from that. We've all watched The Apprentice, we've all watched Dragon's Den. We know what they do when they get given a task there. They get given one specific thing, go sell a cake or go build a statue or something very specific. And so we try to apply that to the world of kind of legal tech. So the specific pain point was, how do we review title as a real estate lawyer? Title is this agnostic element of every single asset that we look at as real estate lawyers. So it applies to everything, which is a fantastic starting point. And we knew that every single transaction involves, to some degree or other, an element of title analysis. If you look at where we are now, we have all these features within Avail that helps you become more efficient at reviewing title, but at the same time you have this laser focus around simplicity, this laser focus around honesty when it comes to AI, this laser focus around reliability and accuracy. That means that the result is what we wanted, but also the target market, us lawyers, both are able to use it, but also want to use it. And that, I think, is very important. So how do we build Avail? Well, it's by looking just at a series of very, very simple pain points and coming up with a specific solution for each of them, packaging them up and presenting them in a shell, in a package that a lawyer really wants to use. That's basically where we are now.
So thinking more widely, what advice have you got to somebody who wants to innovate either their internal processes or their client services? How do you overcome barriers?
So I think this is kind of the million-dollar question. Sometimes it's extremely difficult in a law firm environment to find a way to innovate, because innovate is such a broad term. How do you push forward with changing processes and changing the things that you do on a daily basis? If you're just sat at your desk, you've got all your work coming in, you've got your timesheets to finish. Where do you find the time and how do you do it? A few tips I learned when I was a lawyer, also doing Avail and seeing the law firms and fee earners that I do. Don't get bogged down in bureaucracy. So bureaucracy is the antithesis of innovation. And this comes back to my earlier point around, don't just accept the status quo as the status quo. Just because somebody says, well, we can't do that, don't think, well, we can't do that. Think about, well, what else can we do that reaches the same end result? And that brings me nicely to the second point, which is around, don't obsess around categorization. As lawyers, we are pre-wired to think that if we innovate, it has to somehow fit in a box. So understand, what am I trying to achieve from this quote unquote innovation? Is it a better client service? Is it a better report? We covered some of these earlier. And then go, well, is the best way to achieve that maybe a people solution? Is it a process solution? Is it a comm solution? Should we just talk more to our people? Or is it a tech solution? And all of these different methodologies, ultimately, if they reach the same goal, well, you have a pick of your methods. With Avail, we realized very quickly that tech was the best methodology to reach what we wanted to reach. We didn't kind of go, well, it has to be tech, and then let's figure out what the tech can do. You have to work backwards. I think also we have to look at other industries. It's very important. So looking at the fintech industry, looking at consulting, looking at how do banks do things, looking at our clients even. A lot of our clients as lawyers are actually more tech-enabled than we are, more innovative than we are. You look at people like Barclays, you look at people like HSBC, even you look at people like Netflix. These other industries have learned already how to be innovative. And the final thing I think in terms of breaking down these barriers is don't be afraid to fail. When you try and innovate around different processes or whatever you're trying to achieve in being creative, being different, you have to fail, because until you fail, you don't know what's wrong. Until you don't know what's wrong, you can't fix it and you can't find the ultimate solution. It's a completely different journey. And so understanding that, I think, is one of the most important ways of just pushing past those barriers to innovation as a lawyer.
So the challenge, I think, with innovation is always to prove an outcome. What competitive advantage do you think Avail has brought to the firms who've adopted it?
According to me, as one of the founders of Avail, clearly Avail has distinguished every firm as the most innovative firms in the UK. But how Avail is used on pretty much every transaction with our clients has really just changed a bit of a mindset in terms of how should I be using tech on a day-to-day basis. Tech that isn't necessarily Microsoft Word and Microsoft Outlook, which, you know, if we do a little bit of inward thinking is what we use every day without fail, and we basically use nothing else. So trying to take something that conceptually is quite complicated, artificial intelligence, and applying it in a way that can be baked into the day-to-day workflow, that is the real competitive advantage of something like Avail. Now, really at its core, it's just translating something complicated into something simple, and that enables lawyers to be more efficient and more effective. And that's how you stand out at the end of the day.
So what's next for Avail?
We have lots on the horizon. We have much more sophisticated, deeper categorization of title coming around the corner. So rather than just looking at slightly high-level risks, things like covenants and charges, we actually delve into the language even further. And this has required a lot of time and effort to actually train the AI to pick up the nuances of these different risks so that we can opine in a more effective way on, well, what are the contents of this particular covenant, this particular risk, this particular charge, for example. So there's a lot of deeper work going on there. You'll have seen recently we released the ability to download filed copies. So essentially we've now become a full replacement for the Land Registry portal, which is fantastic because nobody really wants to use the Land Registry portal anymore. And the next step after that is obviously the analysis of those filed copies. And that's really exciting because then we really start to drive time saving way past where we are now, because we're actually looking at the leases, we're looking at the transfers, we're looking at the deeds, and we're going, well, how can we take this text, this analysis, and supplement what we have at the moment? And then we have other products as well, which are natural spin-offs from that analysis. So we have a litigation product in the works, which is looking at things like break notices and generating break notices for property litigators. We have an EPC product in the works, which is looking at the ESG market. Now, we know that the ESG market is exploding, but what does that mean for us as lawyers? A lot of the time, all we do is put out commentary out there around the ESG theme and hope that that grabs our clients to kind of gravitate towards us. And so what we're trying to do is combine internally all our expertise as lawyers. You know, we've all been real estate lawyers. We all know where the market's going. We know what clients of law firms want to see and want to analyze. Combine that with the knowledge we have around how tech can enable these solutions. So leasing, litigation, other types of transfers and deeds analysis, and then also this ESG product as well. That is where we are going over the next kind of 12 months. And then, I mean, who knows, we'll see after that.
That sounds great, Don. We're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
But I can't let you go without asking, what's your favourite reality TV show?
I'm ashamed to say Love Island, and if any lawyer says it's not Love Island, they're lying.